Jimmy G, Roger Staubach graphic.
Now that was
one of the
just a
worst.
fact.
Micah versus the Lions on Sunday. Will the newest Green Bay Packer have a huge contribution? And news about his back injury, saying it was real. Not that I doubted it.
I'm
Meanwhile,
surprised.
fresh episode of Perkins stock up, stock down. How much trouble is Bama in? And is CMC primed for a big season? We'll find out pretty soon. But turns out, Brew was right all along. Albert Breer, writing that Micah's podcast was a distraction. Parsons rankled teammates in different ways, seen by some as egotistical and self-centered. Podcast created issues that went all the way up to Dak. Now, Dak himself told us that he expected the team to reach a deal with Micah, but that didn't happen. And now he's saying, you know what, not surprised. Take a listen.
I can't say I was completely surprised, but I definitely didn't think he was going to get traded. I'll say that. But just with the way that their negotiations went down, obviously, to some extent, I mean, hell, y'all were asking me questions. It seemed like it got personal on their ends. So that's why I wasn't surprised. Honestly, glad that I can't say glad, but yeah, glad that we're moved past that, and everybody seems happy because of it.
Okay. Nick, we'll start with you. Your reaction to Dak's.
Well, listen, Coach came out an hour ago and said, that he thought Dak was more or less relieved this happened. That Dak wanted to be able to take full ownership of the team. If that's the case, then that would make me think less of Dak's football acumen than I currently do. Like, I do buy the idea that Dak would occasionally roll his eyes or say to his brother or a close, confidant on offense, like, you hear what Micah said on the podcast? And that it was a pain in the ass. And you know what? That's too strong. An annoyance at times. You know what I mean? I totally buy that. I do not buy that Dak Prescott thinks it's positive at all that the Cowboys, 10 days before their season, or a week before their season started, traded away their best defensive player when he knows that every year is essentially a referendum on him. Like, at the end of Dak Prescott is the guy with the all-time bad quarterback record in the playoffs. Like, 2-5, which for quarterbacks with that many starts, it's tied for the worst record. And it would be impossible for me to believe that Dak thinks they are closer to winning this year. Now, maybe he has the super long view, but that's hard for a player. So, no, I don't really believe him.
Well, that's the key, though, that you have to not believe what he said, because Coach didn't pull that out of thin air. Like, Dak was talking about the resolution being a relief, and if Micah was still on the team, it would have been a distraction.
Well, Micah and not being signed.
Micah
it's
not
not
being
just.
signed.
He wasn't referring to Micah being here. He's just like, look, we got to get something.
But the fact that they were not heading towards a resolution, if Micah Parsons was still there, that would have been this distraction. And that is just so hard to square the logic on. Like, I would rather have Micah Parsons the distraction, but you have Micah Parsons the pass rusher, than this situation where he's got Kenny Clark and draft picks that aren't going to help him for a couple of years. So I think this is all spin. PR, damage control. I think you called it coping earlier in the show. You traded Micah Parsons. Jerry Jones is going to have to say some ridiculous things. Dak Prescott's going to have to get up there, and he's going to have to spin it. He can't say, we're screwed. We're a 7.5-point underdog to Philly. We're going to win 6 games this year. We got no chance. So that's the best he could do.
See, I think if I understand you correctly, I think you're misreading it. I think Dak was not saying, if Micah's here, he's a distraction. And now he's gone, so we don't have to deal with it. I think he was saying, Micah here, not being under contract. I believe Dak when he said, I thought it was going to get done. And just like they did with me. I thought that Micah was going to be signed and playing in week 1. He did it with CD. He did it with me. Did it with Ezekiel Elliott. You can even go back to Emmitt Smith at some point. Like, so I think Dak believed he'd be here and was just like, and I get it. I'm like, if I'm the quarterback and we want to have a bounce back year and our best player isn't signed and there's all this back and forth between him and the owner, it is a distraction. So, and the reason I think, Nick, that Dak, like when he said, I think he's just being honest. And when he said, he was asked, are you better without Mike? He could have, Jerry said we're better. right? We're better at stopping the run. We're a better football team. Dak could have went that route. If Dak, this is where I disagree with Coach. If Dak wanted Micah out of there, he could have been the same way. Like, look, we couldn't stop the run. Yes, Micah's great at pass run, but we couldn't stop the run. We gave up a ton of points last year, and I do think we are a better team now than we were before. He didn't say any of that. He said, I can't say we're better. That's saying we ain't better without that guy.
But the Breer, I'm looking at this, and maybe this is a bad job by me. I'm looking at this in conjunction with Albert Breer report that name checks Dak Prescott as one of the people that might be, a little relieved that Micah's gone, right? They're already saying that the only person he mentions that the podcast bothered, what he writes up to, up to Dak Prescott.
Saying Dak wasn't one of the best quarterbacks.
See, I don't think if
it
it's
might
that,
not even have been that.
I don't know that it was that. I just think it was just the kind of at large. You know what I mean?
But other Cowboys players had kind of popped up, but Dak is the name.
Right, and DeMarcus Lawrence talked about Micah when he left. Last offseason, Malik Hooker, the safety, and Micah had the issue.
It doesn't have the same pop if you say all the way up to Malik Hooker.
No, I know.
I'm just saying.
I buy that, but the point that I am making is that if Dak heard this news and his initial reaction was not, God dog it, then I think he's missing how vital Micah's was to their ability to actually compete in games that matter this year.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, how bad could it have been?
That's
what, the reaction?
No, how you saying how bad
could it have been with Micah? Like how much of a distraction? The guy has double-digit sacks every single year.
I think Dak wanted Micah back. Do you guys disagree?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to square
question, right?
Yeah, this quote.
I don't think so.
I think the Breer article
he said we're not better without him. He said, I mean, look, I can be annoyed by a guy on a podcast and still be like, we need him.
Wow, that's exactly how
Lodge
feels about me.
When I watched the video, it seemed like he was minimizing it. He's like, I don't feel like I need to say anything to the team. Guys are in the locker room playing ping pong. Everything's
But
about
I think
the game.
as the leader, he's got to say, like, I don't think you want him going out there like,
oh, what was us?
Yeah, I mean.
Also,
Micah's
Prescott.
great.
He's got to worry about the offense. It's
he
like,
can't. I don't think you want your leader going out. I think you want your leader going out there showing confidence, but not being silly and saying, "Oh, we're better without him." He's solid. He said, "I can't say we're better." He said, "But Kenny Clark is an adult. He's a great guy in the locker room. Think he can help, but
Dak is pretty flawless when it comes to public statements.
He is.
Okay, that is in 3 days.
You tell me, buddy.
Well, I didn't send my tweet out.
I missed your tweet.
New video of Micah looking spry at Packers practice. Ian Rappaport, friend of the show, while most assume writing on Twitter, most assume Micah's hold-in was due to a phony back problem. Guilty as charged, me.
He looks pretty good, right?
It was instead partially due to a real back problem. He'll continue physical therapy in Green Bay. Well, here's Micah on playing week 1 with his new team. Take a listen. He looks good there.
I think physically, I'm great. I think I can contribute a lot. My plan is to be here. They didn't give up what they gave up for me to sit on the sidelines and make this big of a risk and change for me to do that. So I'm finna give my all.
Okay. What's the Packers ceiling with Micah?
That's Bob.
Oh, that's right. There you go.
I mean, that's why they traded
for him. That's the ceiling. Absolutely.
That is the ceiling here. You're all. I think we're all agreeing. You just have.
Well, you don't have in the playoffs. But
well, no, I know. But their ceiling is.
Yes.
Best team in football.
Yes.
Right? Because people think Jordan Love had this.
You don't think that's the ceiling?
Oh, I don't think there's.
I don't close my eyes and see the Packers as the best team in football.
Jordan Love had
like a crazy opinion.
I think that's a crazy. Now I'm not predicting them to win the Super Bowl, but you guys are saying.
Hold on.
It's not even.
All right, now we're gonna hold on. Now we're gonna do something a little annoying, but that.
Oh, I love it.
Can you close your eyes and see them winning the Super Bowl?
No.
Oh, okay. So
I didn't see
I bet you can.
No. So this is the annoying thing was I can't close my eyes and see them being the clear-cut best team in football. I could see them win the Super Bowl.
Right.
I don't think those are necessarily the same thing. That's what I thought you were doing.
You think Jordan Love is going to step on the field with Patrick Mahomes and beat him in the Super Bowl?
Well, I didn't think Jalen Hurts was, buddy. And so
Well, I've seen Jalen Hurts do it once. I've seen Jalen Hurts in a Super Bowl play great.
Yeah,
and lose. So I could see it. I clearly was like, oh, I can see it going. You hold on to the football instead of fumbling it. Okay,
go into Dallas where they hadn't lost in 16 straight games.
Oh, shocker. Dallas
and
lays
put
an egg in the
48 on them. As in his first year as a starter.
Okay, Micah Parsons was on that team?
He was on that defense.
Was on that
Was on that.
Okay.
I mean, I guess we've seen Jordan Love have that 9-game stretch where he was 21 touchdowns and 1 pick. Looked like he could win an MVP. Last year they were 3rd in turnover differential. They were 7th against the run. 7th against the run's gonna be worse for their defense. Like, yeah, the ceiling is the Super Bowl.
Yes.
I assume they're not going to hit their ceiling. Most teams don't.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, I'm
ceiling.
I knew what Bruce's answer was going to be. I was a little curious what Danny's answer was going to be because he hates the Packers so much, but he also hates being wrong a little bit more.
That's right.
Which is in conflict here. So I'm shocked that you don't think that's their ceiling. Like
you don't make the trade.
I think that if I were to just very quickly cursory teams whose ceiling is winning the championship: Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, obvious. Eagles, Lions, obvious. Rams, Packers. Trying to see if there's Washington. To me, those are 8 obvious ones.
They have the
and
fifth
then
best odds.
Tampa Bay, if you got one.
I knew I was leaving one out. Tampa Bay. I think some would have San Francisco. I think about a third of the league is their ceiling. That's 10 teams. Okay. You know what I mean? Is the Super Bowl. Where I think Micah changes things is I did not believe they could, come January, win a low-scoring game. I think now maybe they can. I thought, and one of my reasons of skepticism before this trade brew was I'm not as high on Jordan Love as you are. You know what I mean? I do think he's a big delta quarterback right now as far as high highs and low lows. And do I trust that he could have 4 straight really good playoff games? The Eagles last year, I didn't think they needed that from Jalen, and by the way, they didn't. You know what I mean? Those first 2 playoff games, Jalen's job was don't make mistakes. Right. Last 2 playoff games, he was excellent, but we knew they could win different ways. I think now with Micah, you have a guy who can flip a game defensively, like what Aaron Donald was able to do for the Rams. Yeah. Like, I don't think that's an overstatement.
I don't either. I mean, I prepared this. Like, the Packers' defense last year was pretty great, except when they played the great teams. Like, if you throw that in there, rest of the NFL, those numbers on the right absolutely is a Super Bowl caliber defense. And now you add Micah Parsons to it. So can Micah Parsons, when you play the great quarterbacks, to your point, you're playing the good teams in the NFC, you need 3 or 4 good games. I'm with you. I think Jordan Love is going to be turnover prone. He has been. But you add Micah Parsons to a top 10 defense from last year, the margin for error for Jordan Love improves.
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
Who are your NFC teams whose ceiling is the Super Bowl? Is it just Philly and Detroit?
Coach had him leaning Bears, I felt like.
No.
Yeah, probably.
Just
maybe I'm just like
Captain East.
Philly and Detroit. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know. I'm not as. I just am not as enthralled with the Packers as everybody else is.
I mean,
I feel like I've been burned.
Good team last year. They won 2 games with Malik Willis playing quarterback.
Malik Willis played pretty good. He played pretty well in those games, and Matt LaFleur is good. I get it. Here's the other thing from sitting in this chair.
And again, I'm not enthralled with him either. I had him